I'll see you guys in the dark.
I'm currently driving a Mazda RX-8. First mistake in this whole ordeal. With about 20,000 miles on the car, the clutch goes out. Now mind you, I'm a 52-year-old woman who has driven manual transmissions for over 35 years and who doesn't go out hot rodding on Saturday nights. After finding out that Mazda wouldn't replace the clutch, which was normal wear and tear and or abuse, I decided to dump the thing and began looking for a late model Chevy Corvette. Within a day or two, I had found the perfect car on a large, new dealership's lot here in Las Vegas. It was exactly what I wanted. It was a little pricey, about $31,995, but I really wanted out from under that Mazda, so I decided to see what kind of a deal I could make. It was at this point that I found out the bottom had dropped out of the RX-8's value because Mazda wasn't standing behind the model on any levels. Instead of being offered in the neighborhood of $19,000, the value that I thought the car would bring given its condition and the mileage, I was offered about $14,000, which put me upside down in my loan. I drove away in my Mazda. Over the next 4 months, I watched the price drop on the Corvette. I'd been making double payments on the Mazda in order to be closer to even if I could make a deal with them. Tonight I walked back into the dealership. The Corvette's price was $26,588. About $29,000 in change with sales tax, document fees, and all that. I've done my research on the Corvette, confirmed the VIN number, pulled a Carfax on it, which I paid for myself, simply so that I could intelligently and confidently negotiate a deal. I refused to sign any paperwork, anything, until I knew the deal could be financed, so the salesman goes to see the finance manager. About 45 minutes in, he finally returns and states that he tried everything. He can get $18,900 financed, but you need to put $5,300 down. I calmly sat there, asked why the large increase in the down payment, while I pulled my calculations out of my purse. After letting him stutter and stammer for a couple of minutes, I laid the paper down in front of him, and then I explained my figures. I then asked him to get me an explanation for the extra $3,300. Now, I may look blonde, but it's actually white hair, and I've earned every one of them. And here is where it gets good. I'm told that the $3,300 is the fee that the bank is charging to process the loan. I already knew that dealerships routinely receive fees from financial institutions, but they don't pay them. To say that I was livid is putting it mildly. He went on to explain that they normally eat the bank fee, but since the price on the car is so low, they simply can't on this one. In the middle of a crowded showroom, and in a very unprofessional way, I let the poor salesman know exactly how I felt. The car is priced on the internet and in the paper at $26,588, not $26,588 and bank fees. Further, I've purchased many cars during my lifetime, and I've never been made to feel like my money isn't as good as the next person's. I don't like being lied to, and I would also like to speak to the general manager. Of course, I was told that I couldn't. And with that, I turned around, began to walk out, but before I got in one more remark, I've never been treated so unethically by anyone in my life, and if this is the way that you treat prospective customers, then I'm glad that I'm no longer one of them. After returning home and calming down a little bit, I think I figured out what may be going on. The $3,300 added to the current price of the vehicle is very close to what the price was when I initially looked at the car, and what financial institution would charge a fee to process a loan when they're going to be receiving all of the interest on the financed amount over the term of the loan. Regardless of whatever the reason, this simply is not a good way to do business. Have you ever heard of a dealership charging the customer a fee for the bank processing loan? My husband and I had went to a used car dealership. We decided to buy a van. When we were first looking at it, I asked the dealer if the van had air conditioning. He told me yes. I then asked if it worked. He said yes, it works, but it needed to be topped up, and that he had the stuff there and would have it done immediately. He said that the ABS light was on, and that he would make sure that it was fixed as well. I agreed to buy the vehicle, signed the papers, and he said that he would have everything done and ready to pick up by Saturday. We picked up the van on Saturday. On the way home, we found out that the air didn't work. The The ABS light was still on, and a wiper on the back said that he would replace was not put on. I called the dealership back. He told me that he forgot to put the Freon in the air conditioner and had bought the wiper blade and then forgot to put it on. He said to bring the van back the following week and he would have the ABS light fixed. We took it back, left it with him. When I came back to pick it up, he said that the belt had been missing from the air conditioner and that he had replaced it. But it made this terrible whining sound, but it would quit as soon as the belt ran for a little while. Stupid me believed him. He also said that the air ran a little cold, but then it would work itself out. He also said that he had to make an appointment with a different garage for the ABS, and that he'd call later that afternoon with an appointment. Needless to say, the sound got worse, and you could smell something burning. We took the van to a mechanic that was a friend. He said that it was the compressor going bad. Also, when the air conditioner was off, it made that same sound when I turned the fan on. And whenever I started the van, it made that noise as well. My husband called the very next day, and the guy said that it was our problem to go to a wrecker's and get one ourselves. As I was going past the dealership, I stopped in to talk to him about it, and as I was coming up the street, I saw the dealer walking towards the dealership in the opposite side of the road. I pulled onto the dealership, watched him in my mirror. He started across the road, saw me, and then turned around and headed back down the street. I pulled out to cut him off at a corner. All he could say was that Marty, his partner. I told him I didn't really care what Marty had said, that I wanted the van fixed as he said that it would be. When I mentioned the air conditioner, he said that Marty said that it blew cold air, so therefore it worked. He also said that I could not expect them to spend $2,000 or $3,000 fixing it. On top of it all, he never made that appointment for the ABS. I'm pretty sure that he has no intention of fixing that either. I feel like this jerk has ripped off more people than us. If anyone is smart, they'll never buy a car from CarSmart located in Stayner, Ontario. I'm really wondering if there's anything that I can do, or did they totally succeed in screwing me? I paid for that van in full. I had purchased a Chevy Trailblazer LS from McNaught Pontiac in Winnipeg. This was an Optimum used vehicle, which is like certified used vehicles that are sold in the States. When I first came across this vehicle, I set up an appointment with the salesman to have a look at it, and also asked about the history of it in terms of maintenance. He read off a list of things that all seemed the kind of stuff one might expect for 80,000 kilometers. There was nothing that set off the alarm bells ringing in my head. All seemed pretty well. The test drive was better than I had ever anticipated. The engine sounded great. The interior and exterior appealed to be all well looked after. After striking up the deal and picking up a few days later, I drove straight home and then parked it, eager to drive it to work in the morning. The very next morning, about 15 minutes into the drive to work, the check engine light had come on. Well, I called the salesman as soon as I arrived at work. He mentioned that if I had put gas in recently, that the light can come on if the gas cap isn't put back on the right way. I checked. That wasn't the issue. He told me to bring it in, and they'll check it out. To make a long story short, I had made 6 trips to the dealership within a 30-day period, and they couldn't fix that problem. They checked all the wiring, replaced all of the sensors, replaced the computer module. Still, the light would come back on 10 to 15 minutes after they had reset it. After exhausting all that they could do, they got in touch with General Motors, and it was suggested that they, and these are the exact words used, tear down the engine. Imagine that. Well, this didn't sit well with me, because that wasn't what I paid for, seeing as how there is a 30-day exchange policy on all Optimum used GM vehicles. I wanted to do just that. They told me that there wasn't anything around that was comparable, and that they would keep looking for me. I was furious. I was paying a bank loan and insurance on a vehicle that was going to have its engines dismantled. I asked for a refund of my money so that I can go get on with my life, and at the very least, give the money back to the bank ASAP. No dice. They couldn't have any of that. They would not refund me at all. I had a meeting with the general manager and found out that this vehicle's history did indeed have an ongoing battle with the engine light. It had never been resolved. I was lied to, blatantly from the very start. What happened in the end? Well, I did my own homework and found a Trailblazer ZR2 of which that they purchased for me. While it is a much better vehicle all around, I did have to pay a little bit more because it's like comparing apples to an orange. At least I'm happy with that and what I have now. But this dealership I've been talking about has no morals whatsoever. My husband and I went in to buy our very first car. We went in knowing exactly what we wanted to pay for our car, with compound interest included. We knew how much the dealership paid for their car and agreed to pay them 5% profit. Generous, I thought, considering many people will argue dealerships down to about 2%. At any rate, we came to a fair understanding. We initiated our offer price, which the sales guy agreed on, and everything was set to go. When we went into the financing office to sign the final contract and started doing the math, we found out that the sales manager had changed the numbers that we had agreed on and hoped that we wouldn't notice it. Not only that, he started saying that he didn't have time for this, after we had brought up that he had changed the negotiation price. Then the sales guy had come onto the same room. He convinced me that I was looking at the contract wrong. Now, I'm not stupid or anything. I'm an engineer, and I can do all the math. But it was late, about closing time, and I was really tired. In addition, the contract has several boxes labeled the same way, and sometimes you aren't sure where you should be looking. They pointed me to a box, which looked right. I signed that contract. They convinced me to think that I had been looking at the contract wrong. Obviously, signing the contract when I was tired was a very stupid mistake on my part. But at the same time, you don't expect the salesman and the sales manager to both lie to your face. The following morning, with a fresh head, I looked at the contract and found that I had in fact been correct, and they had changed the car price that we had agreed on. I called the dealership general manager the following morning, who was polite, by the way. It was a sales manager that was the big jerk, and managed to get our original price reinstated after some arguing. I guess we were pretty lucky, since we had already signed that contract. This was honestly the worst buying experience that I've ever had, but I guess that I learned my lesson. Always buy a car on a fresh head, and always take the contract home before you sign it. Just trust your gut. We live in Utah, and recently went looking for a new vehicle with a trade-in. There was a demo car with 6,000 miles on it. There was a scratch on the back hatch, some mirror scratches, and the plastic under the car on the front was loose on one side. The inside had not been cleaned either. They said that they could have it ready to go with the list complete by Tuesday. We haggled the price for the trade-in of our F-350 and the Armada that we were buying, signed the papers. The finance lady kept the papers to put in the Armada. I called the salesman on Tuesday around 11 o'clock. He told me it'd be ready by 4:30 p.m. So I went in. Well, the Armada was not ready. They were having a hard time getting the scratch out, so they sent me home, which was about 50 miles away, stating that it would be ready the next afternoon. Wednesday had come around, and it never got finished. Thursday came. I had called several times, and they finally took a hatch off of another Armada and then replaced it. I went to go pick it up again around 4:30 p.m. The inside was not cleaned, and I asked for it to be cleaned. The salesman finally had the customer relations man come to talk to me. I sent the vehicle back 3 times to have it cleaned. On the 26th, they finally paid the trade off, and sent us a notice that we owed about $150 for the remainder balance. They told us that they would have to pay it off in 10 days. If I'm alright, that is 16 days, before we could pick up the plates. We had called several different people there to speak with, and never got anywhere. Some would not return our calls. Others spoke ignorantly to where you'd want to hang up on them. Is this something that we have to pay if we are told that it would be paid off in 10 days? It is not the matter of the money, but the matter is how we were treated. We went on vacation for a week, on July 9th through the 16th. When we got back, the finance lady had left a message that she had only put sales tax at 6%, and it should be 6.25. We needed to re-sign those papers. We signed the papers. Can they even make us re-sign? This whole deal has been horrible. We have received nothing but the runaround, and I will tell everyone that I know not to buy from Tim Dale Nissan. If you enjoyed this video, please subscribe, like, and hit the bell for notifications on future videos and become a stalker of the night. And I'll see you next time.